Okay, so here's the thing. This channel's been dead for a long time. And now, we can do this. Okay, so here's the thing, man. This channel's been dead for a long time. I used to do all types of shit here, talk about comics and all that type of shit, physics. But as of recent, I'd left the comic book genre. It get pretty stale, you know, with Marvel and DC doing their thing, and then fucking Marvel with their recycled bullshit. I was actually trying to even catch up with the stuff on Disney Plus. I expected something good of Kenobi. I didn't get anything good out of Kenobi, but that's a subject for another time. I'm here to talk about the reason to why this channel is now back up and running, and it's to do with this boy here, Mr. Mark Grayson. Mr. Mark Grayson has changed my fucking life. Like, it is fucking crazy how I have sprinted through the entirety of this the entirety of Robert Kirkman's run, and whatever Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker did here is fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. The artwork, I mean, the first couple volumes, we have Kirkman and Walker, and with Walker's doing the artwork, but basically they kind of created the Invincible universe, which is now a big series and all that. But what I wanted to do was, I wanted to bring the comic books to life because they're fucking phenomenal. They're amazing. They were written in 2003, and I mean, right now we're approaching 20 years, and these things are so relevant. Like, not going into spoilers, but there is a part in this book where we have like a disease breakout. This is not a spoiler, but like it's something so small, but like a disease ends up happening, and then so when I was fucking reading this, I was like, shit, this is written in 2004. I'm fucking here, like, you know, in the middle of this fucking COVID and shit, and it's hitting different. Like, it's really, really hitting different. And yeah, Invincible. So what I want to do here, what we're going to start doing is basically I'm going to be streaming every day on the channel, Geek Matter. And what we'll be doing is like every day around, I guess, 10 p.m. We'll be going through like the volumes in the comic book series, because I realized when I was reading this shit, like, there is nothing on, Comics Explained did a really good job on going through the comics really well, but they lacked a discussion. Like, the discussion seems kind of dead right now. I mean, it does talk about season 1, but if we're talking about like anything past season 1, where that's where the fucking shit begins. Like, that's like, I've told this to so many of my friends. Right, I even have one of my friends actually. He finished season 1, and I recommended him the compendium, and now he's gonna buy the compendium, which is fucking amazing, because like, there was no it didn't take him like a Marvel comic or a DC comic, because I showed him a lot of old stuff. I showed him Watchmen. I showed him a lot of old school stuff, and he liked like superhero stuff, and it was pretty cool though that he decided to pick up Invincible. But yeah, like, I do really feel like it is kind of an easy read, and that's no disrespect to Kirkman. I mean that with the utmost respect, in the way that it's written. It reads like it reads like a novel. I mean, it is an epic. If you combine all of the issues all the way 0 to 144, it is like one massive book. But it really reads like a drama, like a TV drama, and a high budget one at that, because of fucking Cory Walker and Ryan Otley. Like, as soon as you start reading this book, those two names, those two names are gonna really, really stick with you, because if it weren't for them, Kirkman couldn't tell a story. It's straight up. It was it's phenomenal. I mean, just going through some of the panels here, like it's phenomenal what Kirkman and Walker was on the first. I think it was the first 3 or 4 volumes, and then Ryan Otley comes on. He comes on for the majority of the run, and then Cory Walker comes in at like volume, like the last one, the penultimate volume, which was okay. Getting ahead of ourselves, but yeah, it's brilliant art by Cory Walker. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna do volumes 1 to 25, and then after that, depending on how I feel, we'll keep going Invincible. We're gonna run this because we're gonna run with this because it has been renewed for a lot of other seasons. I also have some plans, some scripts written for some essays. So yeah, so let's get into the first volume. So right now we're just gonna get into over analyzing this issue. So it starts off with basically Mark doing his thing, and this is actually a snippet from a later scene in the volume, but basically it's Mark fighting off a villain. It's just some action panel with some splash pages, and then we see. But the way I love Mark was introduced is this next sequence of panels here. Is Debbie is calling for Mark in the toilet, and Mark's reading what you'll later know to be Science Dog, which is another whole story. But basically, it is a book that Kirkman and I think it was Cory Walker as well. They were working on prior to Invincible, and it was just a nice Easter egg. So yeah, it was called Science Dog. But so we get a splash panel of 4 months back, that event, and then we have Mark with her mom and his interactions. And the thing I love about these first couple of scenes is the way we're introduced to Omni-Man, right? Because like, if you see here, let me just zoom up on this panel right here. But yeah, there's a sequence here where we get sorry, give me 1 sec. Yeah, so we get this sequence here where we get Omni-Man. One second, guys. This thing's glitching out. Yeah, initially these streams are gonna be a bit glitchy, cause I mean, we're just getting started with this idea. But as soon as we can sort this out, we can get back into the analysis. So yeah, where was I? way we were introduced to Omni, man, it's fucking phenomenal. I love the way it's done. So he, at the beginning of this all, he is automatically assigned this Superman identity. You know, he's like the most powerful person in this galaxy. He's fighting, in this sequence, he's fighting against a dragon. And so you see here, his mom and him and Mark, Debbie, are just talking about how normal that is, just being in that scenario where you have your dad who is a superhero, right? So, but then now, later on, you kind of get this kind of vibe that Mark is like, he's lacking something. And you'll see that in this next panel here, he kind of feels, even in these panels, that's why I love Cory's artwork, and I feel like some people don't really mention it too much, but even in these panels here, we see like Mark is kind of like, he's not content. Here, the way he talks about his dad, like here he says, well, now you know where he is, and then he's like, I hope he brings something nice back for me. I've never been to Taiwan. And then you get here, it says, can you turn the TV on, please? And you see this kind of like, from the get-go, like he expected to see his dad on TV. And so that's what I love, is because like from the get-go we already have his intentions, what he's going to do, what he's planning to do, you know. So, and yeah, right now we get introduced, later on we get introduced to William. So William is like basically Mark's best friend, and they get along pretty well. They go to school together, and we get introduced to the school that Mark attends, and his part-time job at Burger Mart. And we see that the iconic scene where he throws his fucking garbage, and launches up into space, showing that he got his powers, which is pretty crazy. So that's pretty, I mean, like, it's not even been the first like 10 issues, right? And Mark has got his powers, like, I mean, on the 15th page, because, you know, considering the abstract at the start. But like, so instantly you get this excitement with Mark when he gets home with his dad. And so I love how it's also pictured here, and because like Omni-Man just kind of like zooms in and then just sits down, and then just everybody pretends it's okay. And that's what I like. That's what I like. The way the environment is set up, yeah. All of these characters are consistent. You know, I mean, even in the first couple 3, 4, 7 pages. By the way, the reason why I'm going really slow on these issues is because I'm analyzing them. So, yeah. This is basically how it's gonna be. But over time, we'll kind of learn what you guys like and what we can discuss about, because this is supposed to be like a community thing, right? So yeah. But basically, yeah. So you get him coming back with Mark, and then he was like, sorry I'm late, there was an enchanted flood in Egypt I had to deal with on the way over. Just like completely normal, like just look at fucking Mark's face here, just fucking completely normal. Like it's brilliant. But yeah, and then next off, we see that basically just talking about what he did, how he spent his day, and how they spent dinner. And the cool thing about this is that like Mark's always wanted to fly, so this is kind of the first time we see him fly, and so this we get to experience this moment with him. You know, he's flying, but he learns pretty early on. Like, what I was shocked, I mean, it wasn't really much of a problem to me. I mean, because like keep in mind, this is still the first issue. We're not even on issue 2. We've been introduced to Superman, Omni-Man, but like basically like the tropes. So issue 1, the first issue, or really the first volume, what I was gonna say is, it really sets up these tropes. It sets up the tropes that Kirkman is instilling on the book, because it's basically right now the way it reads, it's reading like any other comic book, especially in this next sequence, because that's why I'm saying Mark gets his powers instantly, and they become this now Superman Superboy combo, Omni-Man and Invincible. And then so instantly Mark makes up a makeshift costume with the goggles and shit, and actually this costume is pretty dope, no cap, it's pretty dope, I kind of like it. And we get like Mark dealing with these two villains. Right now, there's not much to say about them, but keep an eye. Yeah, I mean, those two, I didn't say anyone specific, but those two. But basically, they're robbing a bank. Yeah. So Mark ends up meeting his dad as well on the scene. And his dad. Wait, let me fix this for a second, guys. This is a bit problematic. It's not working out to what I want it to be. Yeah, let me get some nice. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, yeah, that's much better, guys. Hey, sorry. Okay, we probably figured that out. Okay, so yeah, so these next couple of scenes, we kind of see Mark with his dad, and his dad just comes in, just like kind of even observing him, not even like getting involved, right? And then he tells him it's time to get the costume. So he gets taken to this guy called Art Rosenbaum. So Art is basically this guy who designs costumes for superheroes, and you see him wear this kind of this yellow orangey costume, which he ends up not liking, but he ends up telling Art, it's one of the most iconic moments in the series. He ends up telling Art that I want something iconic, and he's like, kid, everybody wants that. And Art in the series was by Mark Hamill, so that guy, the Star Wars in me felt is really feeling Art as a character, and I'm really looking forward to what they can do. And basically, guys, for any of you who are interested on knowing like this sequence, the first volume is the first season, right? The first 3 volumes, I would say. But then the interesting thing about the series is that the timeline's a bit different, but we'll get into that later. But the timeline's a bit different, so you have some stuff from volume 7 coming down to the first season, and so on. Like, there's some stories that make it through, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. I'll be making some references, but this is kind of like episode 1 of the first season, but sequenced in a different order. But yeah, just casually, I'll be making those differences, right? Yeah, so into to see the series, and because if I'm being honest, I even told this to my homie. If we finish, if we manage to get through the entire comic book run, and we get to animate it, the entire, like, up till post Vulturemite War, post, like, the end, complete end, right? We will end up having it'll be much better. The comic book series be will not be yeah if hmm, yeah if we end up if we end up if we end up finishing the entire comic book series and we end up getting it animated, and still have Seth Rogen, we have J.K. Simmons on Omni-Man, we have Seth Rogen on Alan, who comes later. We're gonna get into that. Um, I think that the series will be definitely superior than the comics, because Kirkman is not directing it, obviously, but he's an executive producer, so he's involved. He's very involved, and that's really good. He's even mentioned a whole lot of times that he's involved, even during when I was reading the issues. There's the letters columns. Kirkman was always was I think by the third, fourth volume. No, I think it was past that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was somewhere across before they got to the 10th volume. Definitely, they were nominated for an Eisner, right? The comic was nominated for an Eisner, and then yeah, it was nominated for an Eisner. Yeah, the comic book was nominated for an Eisner, and then they said that it was picked up by Paramount for a movie, a live action though. They hadn't mentioned the animation, but yeah, Kirkman had mentioned that. But yeah, so we sidetracked. But going back to the issue though, we can see like Mike ends up not liking this costume, and he ends up completely changing it. And we get some sequences of Mark being in school, being normal, and ending up having to do normal things. And so what's funny here is that and I think a lot of superhero comics don't address this. Not that they don't address this, but it's kind of always overlooked. Yeah, is how superheroes actually hold, they hold back their punches, right? Because I remember, I used to read I was reading the Spider-Man one, the Superior Spider-Man one, when Doc Ock was Spider-Man and he took over. And then I remember when there was a scene where he was punching, and then he realized how much damage he caused, and then he was like, shit, I have to hold back my punches. So I remember seeing that was really cool. But we have that similar scenario here, Mike, he realizes that he can't really he can't really get aggressive on these guys, right? I mean, he pushes him. He tries to hold back because he knows that I'm going to fuck you up, bro. I'm going to fuck you up. No cap, going to fuck you up. And we end up seeing Mark getting stopped by the principal, but he ends up finding that iconic name that he gets, and so we get invited to the principal office. So the principal, he is significant. He does appear in Mike's life a lot of times. He definitely gets he definitely sometimes does try to appeal to Mark from a personal perspective, in terms of the fact that he knows that he's a good boy and he's good moraled. And I love how Kirkman does this, because also this kind of this is kind of show not tell, right? Because we are given this baseline for what Mike is, this typical teenager who has superpowers, goes to high school. A lot of distinctions are made to Peter Parker and Mark Grayson. They kind of sound similar. Mark Grayson, Peter Parker. I don't like making those comparisons, because I feel like not that Spider-Man is bad, but Invincible is way beyond anything I've ever read. Like in terms of reality and actual consequences and responsibilities and realism. Like choices actually fucking matter, right? Like coming out of a fucking sequence of reboots and remasters, right? Every time, like in Marvel and for some part DC did a good job with their rebirth. They kind of brought back New 52. I was fucking with that for a bit, but I kind of stopped reading, so I don't really know where they're at right now. But Marvel, Marvel are the king of reboots and rebrands and rebullshits. My gosh, there were so many number ones. Like I think there was one point in oh shit, yo. Oh, okay. Let's call that an ad break. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so we're talking about Winslow. Principal Winslow. Principal Winslow is the local principal. I think their school is Garrison High, right? I don't know. Let me just check that. Should be Garrison High. Yeah. Garrison High. Is it? I might be tripping. Let me show you guys what I'm saying. Yeah, so nah, let's leave that. Yeah, let's get into it. Where were we? Okay. So people are getting robbed at a bank. So we see basically Invincible do some more superhero stuff. That's the end of chapter 1. Now we get into chapter 2. Now chapter 2 is pretty cool because now chapter 2 we get introduced to where Nolan is from, and so we get basically introduced to where he's from and what his race kind of does, because he's not human, right? He's an alien. And so again you see that Superman Omni-Man resemblance, that kind of like, you know, Superman being from Krypton and Omni-Man being from Viltrum, because that's where he's from. And so basically he kind of tells Mark that he is from a very far solar system, and a very far system, pardon my French. And he tells Mike that his planet is very unique because what they have is that they're very strong. They're completely strong. and they have superhuman speed, superhuman strength, and they're basically a planet that has achieved utopia, and they have a council that agree on foreign issues. And what they kind of realized was that we have achieved this utopia. We want to spread this utopia throughout the galaxies, throughout other every other system, and in a good way, like in the sense that to help them to solve problems, to help them to achieve their issues, and to be able to also solve socioeconomical issues. And so when that was pulled upon in their council and that was questioned upon, it was unanimous. Everybody voted. So what happened is they kind of formed this organization that it was called this World Betterment Committee. And so they were basically tasked with getting other planets that are in a place of development that they need just an extra push or an extra step in order to achieve that sort of utopia, that they were looking for. And this was legit, for a long time. And so they've been doing this. They went to other planets to help them with resources, help them with their immense strength, and sometimes in labor. And also the Viltrumites are an advanced race, so also technologically they're advanced, so they are able to spread their technological advancements everywhere, right? So, and this was pretty cool because now you have this extra layer to this Superman character, because now it's no longer about just running away from your planet. No, this planet is very much alive, right? This planet is operating, it has people, that's how we're introduced to it, the way it is, right? And so later on we get to see Nolan's journey, so Nolan's stake in all of this. And so he was basically born in like kind of the way he puts it, he was like born in the golden age years of Viltrum. And because it was a time where they had achieved this like kind of Goldilocks, where they had their staff centered all over the globe, and it was working. And also they had a strong unit within their own planet, right? And so easily Nolan was born and raised to be a patriot, right? Like even the way he says it, he says, by the time I arrived, I had grown fond of Earth and the people of it. I was fascinated by the achievements they had accomplished in such a short time. He talks with the pride, with the mission, especially when he talks about Earth. And and you even see the influence he has, because when he said he pleaded for authorization to add Earth to the betterment schedule, but it was deemed too crude and not developed. And then he said, I refused to give it up, and offered an alternative solution. I volunteered to relocate to Earth and be its sole protector, dedicated to the survival of its civilization. So you really see the patriotism in him. And obviously in this scene he's talking to his son. And so and what he's saying is that he kind of had to go on this mission alone because they didn't sanction this mission, right? This mission wasn't planned for. They said that Earth was it's not advanced enough. It's too crude, as they put it. Fucking called us crude. Thanks, Kirk. But yeah. So, and he talks about how it was weird for him when he came to Earth, right? When he initially came. And he was very weirded out by their culture. It was a big culture shock to him, but he knew that his mission was there to protect them and to save them from all evil, right? And so this is basically him telling this to young Mark, and he's telling Mark as an expectation because he knows that he's going to get powers. So this is before Mark is born. And so we get this beautiful kind of prelude to this issue. And then Mark's reaction is, I'm going to be able to fly after being told that you're a fucking alien, right? Like, you're asking the wrong questions. But yeah, so we come back to Mark, and now he's kind of like he's stressed, and then he's like, I can fly, and then he just goes and fucking flies, and then he meets a villain doing whatever villains do, and then they end up having this sort of interaction, and they fight, and so this is when we meet Rex, Robot, and Kate. And so these are basically other superheroes in this Invincible universe, which obviously have so much that we're gonna get into later on. I mean, these three characters deserve a book on their own. Like, it's they're very well fleshed out. But we meet Rex, and we meet Robot. Rexplode is his name, and Kate, and so they're fighting against Mauler, so the Mauler twins, and so we're gonna see a lot of these guys across the series. The Mauler twins, they're pretty annoying in a good way, but also they you'll see. The good thing also about this story is that you have characters. You see, the characters are the ones that are pushing the plots forward. Everybody has intentions, right? And we'll see this later on. But yeah, we end up going to seeing. We see basically Mark kind of getting introduced to the squad. And he ends up also so I guess now he ends up calling himself Invincible, and so he ends up kind of matching the fact that Atom Eve is actually going to her school, and so she's actually, so they actually now end up kind of actually meeting more of each other at school, and they end up developing this like really nice, like genuine, like proper like friendship. And like I said, also like the way Cory does his art, like I know Kirkman is a good writer, I get it, but Cory, the way he does his art, it's crazy, because like you have these close-ups. He does close-ups so fucking well, like he displays emotions well, even the nuances, even like eyebrow twitches and Mark, like that adds so much more to the story. And it's really cool because like they kind of both created it, so it's natural for it to come about because it's their creation, right? But that's what I'm saying, like it's fucking crazy. But no, they end up kind of getting comfortable with each other, and end up suiting up, and so they end up going to what they call the teen team. So that's what basically Atom Eve, Robot, and Rexplode and Kate are in. So we have the Guardians of the Globe, which we found out earlier, right? Which is this kind of like this Avengers, but like not really Avengers. It's like a copy of Avengers, but that typical trope of, you know, the Justice League or the Avengers, more Justice League actually, think about it, because you have but we'll see them later. You have Darkwing and yeah, we'll see them later. But yeah, so we go on with the robot. So they end up being called, right? Because the Mauler twins are up to something again, and so these are basically we end up kind of finding out that these two are clones, right? So they're clones of each other, which is pretty interesting because like they always end up having this debate of saying who is the clone, and so it's it's something that kind of gets more deeper later on. They kind of play it out as a joke, but it ends up really, really really like solidifying a relationship, and it's so crazy because you have a relationship between two people, but they're the exact same person. So like it's, but it feels so real because like they actually have opinions about each other, and they actually have to sometimes have to deal with each other and get through the fact that they know the annoying parts of each other, but that's what makes them get along so well, right? But yeah, and so you end up seeing the team. They they kind of catch the Molotovs, and for what? Not really, but like they just capture them. But we end up seeing this ending sequence of somebody exploding. Yeah. So now, chapter 3. So chapter 3 is it's a pretty interesting one as well. Chapter 3. So chapter 3 is where we get introduced to the Flaxons. The Flaxons. So we start off with Winslow again, during assembly. Reginald Hyde Johnson. And then yeah. You guys, we're gonna take a bit of a break. Get a dinner break. So you guys go and like eat your dinner. I'm gonna be playing some chilling music here for the squad. For the squad. For the squad. What are we looking for? Yeah, let's look for some Invincible. I've always wanted to do this on a fucking I've always wanted to do this on a fucking stream, bro. uh, yeah, we'll keep it playing. Take a break, yeah? So we're gonna come back and do chapter 4. We're gonna finish up chapter 4 after this. Is it always this easy? I fucking love Mark, bro.